Delanco Township Committee Meeting of April 1st, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. at the Delanco Township Municipal Building, 770 Coopertown Road, Delanco, New Jersey.
We're all here. Good. We're recording, Janice?
Mayor, we are recording.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to the April 1st, 2024 Township Committee Meeting held at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 770 Coopertown Road in Delanco. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Patrick.
Here.
Mr. Olet.
Here.
Ms. Seuss. Here. Mr. Templeton.
Here.
Mr. Bartlett.
Here. Also present, Mr. Schwab, our Township Administrator, Mr. Fox, our Township Engineer, Mr. Raymond, our Township Solicitor, Mrs. Law, Municipal Clerk, Mrs. Russell, Deputy Municipal Clerk, Mr. Fenimore, Superintendent of Public Works, Mr. Warren, Police Lieutenant, and that is everybody. Can you please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you please read the sunshine statement, Janice?
Please be advised that proper notice of this meeting has been given in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act in the following manner. Written notice has been mailed to the Burlington County Times and Courier Post and published in the January 4th, 2024 editions. Written notice has been posted on the official bulletin board of the Township of Delanco at least 48 hours prior to the meeting.
All right, and the live stream statement. Janice?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
This meeting of the Delanco Township Committee may be transmitted via live stream on YouTube video. The streaming of the meeting is not intended to be relied upon as formal public access under the Open Public Meetings Act, and if the technology is disrupted for any reason, the township meeting will proceed in person as an official meeting in accord with the official notice.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll start with Ordinance 2024-4, an ordinance authorizing the grant of real property license with respect to 302 Orchard Street at Block 1304, Lots 6 and 7. Second reading by title only and public hearing. Hearing is open to the public for Ordinance 2024-4. Seeing no members of the public for 2024-4, we will close that hearing to the public. Can we have a motion to approve Ordinance 2024-4?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Fitzpatrick, second by Ms. Seuss. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss? Yes. Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes. All right, Ordinance 2024-5, adopting industrial rehabilitation areas redevelopment plan for Block 2100, Lot 11, 401 Creek Road, Block 2000, Lot 13.01, 450 Creek Road, Block 2000, Lot 13.04, 500 Creek Road, and Block 1900, Lot 1.01, 740 Creek Road. Second reading by title only and public hearing. Hearing open to the public for 2024-5. And seeing no members of the public, we will close 2024-5 to the public.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, the
Please.
vote on this ordinance is going to have to be carried to the next meeting because it's involving a redevelopment zone and impacts upon the zoning in that area. It has to be referred to the planning board and they have to give their consistency review. So it will have to come back. That has not had a chance. They have not had a chance to act yet on this for their consistency review. So it will have to come back for a vote at the next meeting once they've had their consistency review.
All right, so we will carry this to our April 15th, 2024 agenda. No further notice is required, I believe, Janice, correct?
Right, you'll need a
We should-
motion.
Mr. Mayor, it should be a motion to carry out.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll have a kind of a motion to do what I just said, please.
Yes. So moved.
Second.
Okay, I heard multiple people, I'm sorry.
Fern can have it.
Vernon?
I said first.
Okay, Kate and Fern?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
And this is a motion to continue ordinance 2024-5, the public hearing and consideration for adoption to the April 15th, 2024 Township Committee meeting. So, Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes.
Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes. All right, meeting is now open to the public for any comments and questions. This is session number 1. If you have any comments or questions, please approach the podium and give your name and address for the record, and there will be another session later on in the meeting. Meeting is now open to the public. Meeting is now closed to the public. Go to comments and reports. We'll start with the professionals. Let's start with Mr. Raymond.
I don't have anything specific at this time.
Okay. Harry, your turn.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I only have a few things to report tonight, but I have a discussion on the Duke seawall to explain the changes we made after meeting with Scott Taylor and Councilwoman Seuss. The crossings at Delanco, we did have a meeting, and Kate is going to have that in her report, but it was attended by Kate and myself, Scott Taylor in his office, and the developer.
Pull it closer.
Yeah,
Just move the whole, there you go.
there you go.
Thanks.
That better?
Yeah, we have a hard time hearing you down at this end even, so.
Yeah, we held a meeting with the developer for the crossings, township officials and myself and Scott Taylor's office to review the remaining work that needs to be done. We went over the basic, the biggest issues, the wildfire, lateral et cetera, and the other concerns that I have on my punch list. Developer is going, he agreed to address everything on with Scott Taylor and the high list. We are putting together some estimates for the sidewalk on Cooper County Road. On the original approval, the developer was to install sidewalk on Cooper County Road in front of the houses that lie behind the development. If the township can acquire a right-of-way widening. We haven't been able to do that, that's not been able to get that widening, so we are proposing that the developer put money in escrow to install that sidewalk with our own means in the future if we have to do the right away. I'm working up, I came up with a rough estimate, and he asked me to formalize that and put it in writing, and I will do is send it to the township on what I think it would cost, and then he's going to speak with the attorney and it may get into the legal end of matters at that point. I can get the price together, and after that, it's legal issues.
Harry,
Yes.
that sidewalk also includes the retaining wall that may be needed to protect that sidewalk?
Yes, that was part of my estimate. There's one section there that is definitely some type of retaining wall, either height wall or retaining wall, and that is part of my estimate as well.
Thank you.
The town hall parking lot in Iowa and Field of Dreams paving, that was scheduled to start this week, but due to the weather, they got pushed off until Monday. They're going to deliver some equipment on Friday, so they see some equipment out in Iowa, and they're going to start milling on Iowa first thing Monday the 8th. Another committee. Once they're done milling that, they're going to move over to the town hall, and we'll go parking lot in town hall. They may or may not get to town hall on Monday afternoon, but then they'll follow first thing Tuesday, when town hall will mill that. Then when we come back and pay those two areas, while we're going to know the other trees, or actually trees, or the trees, and that will be the last what we do. And as you know, we are adding some extra paving for the trails and whatnot for the trees. So we'll already have Iowa and parking lot done, so that way we know who's going to be having the contract. And we do as much work we do up to the 20% change order requirement. So that's the schedule now. It should be done, well, again, within a week to 10 days. It should be every
Can we have somebody from the township send a letter to the residents about the speed bumps? I know they have an easement there and they requested that we talk to those residents first before we put the speed bumps there.
The speed bumps would be after the paving is done?
Yeah, I know.
And no, I have not contacted them, but I can do that.
Okay. I don't know if you had to do that or if somebody in our office had to do that.
That's what's up to you.
I don't care as long as it gets done.
Yeah.
Whoever does it.
I guess
Richard?
probably the best way will be from the township, because you have the contact information
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Put them together.
Okay, thanks.
Richard?
Richard said he'll put something together.
Yeah, we'll try to put something together.
Okay. Great.
While we're talking about talking to residents, can someone let the residents on Iowa know?
Yes.
Just so they're advised.
Yes, I believe it's getting posted on the website, and we'll also notify the residents ahead of time. They will also get a notice from the contractor on Thursday.
Okay.
We'll be putting out notices.
Okay.
We can do an email blast too.
Great. More the better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
The CDBG grant, 2023 is the handicap replacement project. That is complete. We had some issues with restoration and some workmanship issues, which I still have. We're going to be preparing a punch list and having them fix areas that I don't think is acceptable. But it is done. It's just a punch list level, and we're not going to recommend any payment at all until they fix some of these problems that we have out there.
How many did they do, Harry? Was there like 10?
There was, yeah, there were 10 individual ramps.
Right.
Yes, 10 corners.
And, because the couple that I saw were just totally unacceptable. Yeah. I never
Yeah,
saw such sloppy work.
It was very sloppy work. We always seem to get the F crew, especially on this because it's such a small contract. And it's difficult with workmanship. You can't really hold their hand and do it. So it's, you get what you get and you just gotta make them fix it. People will pay it. But yes, I'm not happy with the workmanship at all.
So my question is, how can they fix them without ripping them out and redoing it so it's leveled and neater? How, I can't see any other way of correcting it.
That's true. They'll have to rip them out.
Okay.
It sounds
All right, I
like a
just
them
want to make
problem.
sure we're on the same
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't think of anything that'll be on the punch list that would involve removing something inserted there. There's great issues.
I had a resident reach out to me that had the handicap ramp done in front of his house on Mulberry. And his concern was there was a street tree there and they took out a pile of roots that were knee high and like 4 feet wide. And he's concerned now that the tree is compromised and going to die. So it's something that needs
It's
to
on
be
the
addressed.
list.
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
On the list.
It's on the list?
It's on the list
On
to
the
come
list.
down?
Okay, cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely, it does have to come down. And I spoke with that gentleman as well.
Okay.
And,
Just wanted to follow up.
they also have a existing non-conforming ramp that they put on the front door, that I'm going to meet with, not the owner, but someone's representing the owner. I think is somewhat confused, and his ex-wife apparently helps him out and does things for him. So she called me, and I told her I would meet her out there and work it out, figure out what we're going to do there. And make it all happen. And the last thing we have is the Zubov seawall. I did, so I went over, it has been advertised. We're accepting bids on May 1st, and we'll award on the meeting May 6th. Assuming that the bids come in acceptable. I did meet out there with, Councilwoman Seuss and Scott Taylor, to review our plans and how we're matching his plans for parking improvements. The changes I made a copy for everyone, you're welcome to keep those, and, for your own records, and use, if anyone has any questions, you can refer to those plans. The only change that it will be making to these plans is, and actually Richard caught this, we have a detail for a tree planting on the back. We're not planting any trees, so I'm just going to move that detail so it's not confusing to anyone. We're only moving trees, but to replace the trees, that will be done under Scott Taylor's project. So we can place them in strategic locations that meets his plan. Other than that, these plans are what's going to be built. Now, what we did was we increased the sidewalk size from 4 feet to 5 feet wide. We also, the sidewalk that goes along Union that's existing, we're taking that out from bad shape, so we're taking that out and replacing that, so it's all new sidewalk there. We're also tying the sidewalk down at Willow, from our seawall sidewalk, I call it, to the Willow Street, or Delaware Avenue sidewalk at Willow Street. So it'll be one big connection. Where the old gazebo was, we left this second sidewalk out there because that's where Scott's proposing to put the gazebo. And what we're doing now is we're installing, since our contractor's out there driving piles, we're putting in piles for the future that we can use to set the gazebo on and build off of. That's why there's that gap, because we're looking at the plan of where the sidewalk is not being installed at this time. If we find that when Scott's or the funds might not be there for the park or whatever, and when we're doing our construction, if we want to add that extra piece of sidewalk in, we can always add that in later, if we find that that's needed. But as of right now, the plan is just to leave it out for now. We also indicated there's one more tree to come down that was not on the original plans. It's a buttonwood sycamore, shows on, if you're looking at the plan, almost about an inch and a half from the right-hand side. Shows it's a sycamore, and the roots are, the erosion has occurred so bad this year, actually, that the roots are mostly exposed on the river side of it, and Scott felt, and that's not pretty, it may not be safe having that tree there at this point in time. So we indicated to remove that tree as well.
That's a significant tree.
That is a significant tree.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it's already been compromised.
Well, it hasn't moved.
Well, I don't think it's responsible for us to build $1 million seawall with a tree that might fall because half the roots are bad now. Those roots are gone. There's the river's almost up to the tree at this point.
Right, it is.
Well, the roots for 3/4 of the base of the tree, they're still intact, and it hasn't moved.
Yeah, but you got dead men that are gonna have to be put out in that area too, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be compromising even more roots.
Is that your engineering opinion?
No, but I was at the meeting, so I can reference that,
Okay.
because I met with the engineer.
Yes.
And that's what was said.
There is dead men that will go around the roots. How bad it disturbs those, I couldn't tell you right now until you laid it out.
It's
And
valid.
Scott Taylor, the landscape architect, that's his recommendation, and I don't feel strongly to go against what he is saying.
Do you mind having, if I asked shade trees or council arborists to look at that?
No,
We
it's
can't-
coming down.
We
There's no
can't hear
point of
you.
wasting
I
it.
can't hear you, Mike.
The landscape architect and the engineer feel it needs to come down half the roots, and we're not saving the tree. The tree is coming down. It's,
I'm just asking we have a township arborist that we pay.
He's gone out to bid on
That's
this.
the expert.
No.
Let's make this, it's a significant tree. You afraid of something?
no, it's just why are we
that,
gonna waste Kevin's time with the tree that needs to come down?
exactly. two opinions, professional opinions. Maybe they're not arborists, but they certainly deal with this issue in construction and landscaping. Architectural review is what Scott does. That's what he is. He's a landscape architect, planner, and I value their opinion, especially with this project that's going to cost us
Well, it wouldn't
close
hurt
to
have-
$1 million,
wouldn't-
at least $1
wouldn't-
million,
It wouldn't
Mike.
hurt to have Mr. Sebella's opinion, wouldn't it? If it confirms,
I don't think it would make a difference.
okay, so
I don't-
it wouldn't hurt to ask, right?
I don't think it would make a difference that we would keep the tree if Kevin Scabelia said that it's okay.
Okay. So,
But I don't think
I'll
we're
ask
going to
him.
stop the plan because he's ready to submit it for bids.
Well, with that being said, we do have a unit price for the trees, so if it's determined that we want to take more trees or less trees out, we can do that at the unit price.
Okay.
So it's not something that would hold anything up at this point in time.
So bids are due on the 1st, you said, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we are having a pre-bid meeting, on the 16th, at 10 a.m. And legally, we're not allowed to insist that the contractors attend these meetings. It can't be mandatory. But I put language in there saying strongly suggested that bidders attend this meeting. So we'll see who shows up for that. And the purpose of that is to review the plans with the contractor, with the bidders, so everybody's, bidding on the same thing and there's no confusion. If there's any confusion, we have time to do an addendum if need be.
Yeah, Harry, is that meeting going to be on site or here?
One site,
On site.
What's the date and time again, Harry, please?
10 a.m. on the 16th, April 16th.
the sidewalk gap, when we met, that the sidewalk was designed to provide some structural integrity to that part of the seawall, the upper exposed part. Is that, you still feel the same way with removing that section there?
I added additional bed net to that from the original plan.
And that's still vinyl, or is that
No, that's vinyl.
the aluminum?
That's vinyl there.
Okay. Because that takes a beating.
And Harry, you want to point the change in the location of the inlets and the grading issue?
Yeah, I have a couple
Okay.
more things that we did. What we're doing is the sidewalk now is going to be parallel with the top of the seawall, concrete cap. The concrete cap is, to 10, or sidewalks are always to 8. So the concrete cap, the top of the cap, is going to be 2 feet above the concrete sidewalk, even all the way down. And it's going to slope away from the wall, go to a swale in the grass, and then go to the drains out to the river. I actually like that better. It's going to be a little bit more money, but I think we have the money in the budget, so it is a better design.
Can you explain that again? I'm not sure what you're talking about there.
Yeah, what we'll have is the seawall cap is concrete caps and we'll straight across, at level. Our sidewalk will be 2 feet below that. Same parallel, exactly parallel with it, so
Right.
it'll be flat, but it's gonna slope away from the seawall to a grass swale, and the grass swale will have drainage to the inlet. One of the last things we looked at was the face of the wall from the looking out towards the river. What we're going to have with this new design is the concrete cap, and then there'll be 9 inches of the corrugated wall showing, and then the sidewalk. So in that 9 inches, for aesthetic purposes, Scott recommended we put something on it instead of facing. We could do it pressure treated. My concern is I'd rather use something synthetic rather than pressure treated, because pressure treated's going to shrink and you're going to get
Right.
gaps in it. And there's the area between the corrugated seawall and that fascia wall will be full with bees, bugs, everything else.
It's gonna,
So I want something that can be solid on there. And what we decided to do was, that can be an add-on later on, when the bids come in, if we have the money, we want to do it, and Scott determines what he's going to do with his project, we can add that on, or we can do it as part of his project. And like I said, the material has to be determined. That's what we're looking at for study purposes.
So that would take the place of the pressure treated.
Yeah, I wouldn't put pressure treated against the face.
Right.
I want something that won't create gaps.
Correct.
And, you know, track boards or something like that, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
How people feel, but it's pure aesthetics, for aesthetically. And it will match whatever the reason why we don't have it on here now is because we don't know what he's planning on his design. So we want to match what he's planning on. So he indicated that he would have at least a conceptual idea of what he's doing before we start construction, or at least by the time we're done construction.
Mm-hmm.
So then we can add it on as a change order if we want to put that little facade on. And that's all the changes that we made from, you know, there's some technical changes, but that's, you know, number of dead men and things like that, but, anybody have any questions?
On the drainage, that's going to be, I guess, in the lawn area?
Yes, it'll be your seawall, the sidewalk will slope away from the seawall out to the grass swale.
Right.
And then the swale is gonna have high and low points in it going to the little yard drains that'll flow out to the river. And the yard drains will have a check valve on it, so water can't come back.
Okay.
The other direction.
Good. That was where I was headed with my question, so thank you.
Yeah, it's the old.
Plenty of that.
Check valve on it. The other thing that we are doing on this, from our past experience, we are requiring vibration monitoring. And we have it in there that they have to put a monitor at the Zubrook Mansion. Now, Zubrook Mansion is a historic building, so the requirements for that are pretty stringent. And we have that in spec, the contractor has to meet those vibration levels at Zubrook. Then we also have, there's 3 homes within a range that could be affected. We have them put on there as well. Now, those limits are much higher than the historic building, several times higher. But that will be monitored during construction, and there won't be any violations engineering-wise, technically, to cost damage to the building. I'm not concerned about it all, but considering our past experience, this just covers us. The distance to Zubrook Mansion is about 150 feet away from the seawall. And typically, they only really go 90 feet with checking something. But we're just being safe in this case.
Good insurance policy.
Yep,
Insurance.
That's good.
All right.
Harry, on your email this afternoon, you said, made sidewalk even with seawall.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That's where it's parallel. It's kind of hard to describe, but yeah, where it's exactly 9 inches below the top of the seawall will be the sidewalk, and it's completely parallel with the top of the seawall.
So it doesn't go up and down and range?
Right,
Sidewalk
it's gonna be
will-
flat.
sidewalk's gonna
Sidewalks is gonna be
Really
flat.
perfectly flat, but pitched towards the grass.
Mhm.
Right.
So the top of the seawall is elevation 10 all the way across?
Yep, top seawall is always down all the way across, and the sidewalk where it hits the seawall is an elevation of 8.
Yeah, all the way
all the way
across. All right.
Straight.
All right.
All right.
Harry, do you want to talk about the photo contract that we have to do for the state historic people?
Hunter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's, I'm glad you rang, thank you, Richard. We did get a quote from Hunter Research to do the historic work that Chicago is requiring. And like I said before, that's just a documentation of what's out there They just filed these historic office, and that's basically what it is. Hunter Research, I believe everyone got a copy of the proposal, but they gave us a proposal. It was $3,245.82 to go out and take photos, do sketches, do documents, and then they submit it to the shipbuilders, the historic preservation office.
That price sounds consistent with what was discussed a couple months ago.
It's reasonable, and they broke down the time, and it looks reasonable to me. And something has to be done, that condition of the permit, it just has to be done before we start construction.
Right.
We're not going to throw away 15 years of work for $3,200, so.
No.
So we do a motion authorizing this work, they're doing it as a sub for you, so we bill through you, right, just like the last time?
That's correct.
Yeah, but we have to authorize an increase in the contract with ERI by this amount for this particular work, so somebody make a motion to that point, and
I'll make a
all aye and
motion.
yay.
I'll second that.
All
You
in
doing all in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
And also, so that I don't say it again, because related to this, you have in your consent agenda, first reading of the supplemental bond ordinance to bring the total to this project $1,220,000. That doesn't mean that we need to spend that, but that was to make sure that we don't end up not being able to award because it's slightly higher than what might be there, and we have the issues that Harry's brought up where there might be change orders for the work on that 9 inches, and there's other things that we have added in order to make sure we're ready for the next phase to improve it. There's also work that may be needed on the ramp and other things that are not related to this particular project. And the capital bond ordinance covers all those things. So the goal was you had decided we would add $400,000 to the appropriation, so that's what this does, and make sure that we're ready to move forward. Hopefully, we're not going to need to spend all that on this piece of the project, but then there'll be enough funds to take the next step without having to deal with all new funding issues. So it gives you that kind of flexibility. Again, one of the cool things about any kind of funding is it doesn't require that you spend it. Just make sure you don't go over that. If you don't need to spend it, gets canceled, paid back, and doesn't actually cost anybody anything. So I just mentioned that's in your consent agenda that's related to this particular project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fox. And I will go to department heads. Lieutenant.
Good evening, everyone. For the total for the end of the month for March of police cases, we ended with 18, total for the year at 50. There were 82 motor vehicle summonses issued, with a total for the year of 193. There were 900 calls for service, with a total now for the year of 2,469, with 96 motor vehicle stops for March, with a total for the year of 355. We had a new hire orientation on March 12th. We had 31 applicants respond with sending a cover letter and resume. 21 actually showed up, which actually is the most thing we've ever had.
Yeah,
Historically, we're usually
a couple.
5 to 6 tops. But it was a decent bunch. We narrowed it down to 5 that we'll actually do background checks on, to then select 2. We have 2 spots reserved for the Gloucester County Police Academy in August. So they came in last Wednesday and Friday, were fingerprinted, had a picture taken, picked up the application. They were given a deadline to return that, and then we'll get on their the backgrounds. They're a little more extensive now with the licensing that was put in place with the state, so it's a little more thorough, but it's good. So hopefully, like I said, we can narrow it down and again make the selection. Other than that, we're doing pretty well.
Great.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Mr. Fenimore.
Yes, good evening. We started off with our brush pickup, and we only did 24 yards, which is pretty small, but in the past couple of months, we've been making up for it here at the storms and stuff and picking stuff up. I started to fill in the girls' softball field around the first base there where it was pretty bad. I brought some dirt in there and filled it in, and it seems like it's working, but I still got to do a little bit more. I asked Steve to stop in, and he took a look at it, thought it looked pretty good. We delivered 30 yards of mulch.
I'm sorry, John, you talking about West Ave or Field of Dreams?
The Field of Dreams.
Because there's a softball down,
yeah.
well, there's a softball West Avenue as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down West Ave, yeah, Field of
Okay.
Dreams, yeah. 30 yards of mulch, and we did 10 yards of compost. We replaced 18 stop signs. They started to get faded, we replaced them. We take them down to the place in Vineland, and they redo them, saving us money from getting the whole sign done. So we take the old ones down and take them down, and we get the new ones, and that's how we do that. They delivered our new sweeper, and we just got it registered today, and hopefully, well, we're not going to get it out this week, but it's going to get out there. I would like to get a sign put up on the side of it. Before we do it, I'll make sure everybody sees it. I just thought your tax dollar at work, shared service, Beverly City, Delanco Township. And put it on either side. If, before we do it, because we got to put it on the side of the vehicle, both sides. So we got to make sure that the writing, however we put it on, is going to fit the space that we got to put it. So.
John, is there going to be like a street sweeping schedule at all? Do people have to move their cars?
Yeah, well, as soon as we get it started, Bobby knows where he's been. But this is, I'm looking forward to it because it can only help us for all the silt and the debris that goes down and into the river. And we're having this tremendous amount of flooding that people don't realize that all this little bit, 50 years from now, makes a big difference. So hopefully we can solve some of that.
So, John, I think what Carolyn meant was an actual schedule. You know how we do the week schedule?
We'll start scheduling it. Yeah.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
people know that
Move
they
their
don't
cars.
park their
But
cars on the street.
A lot of, we're just hoping we can get, we'll be able to get by pretty quick. And some of the streets like your Vine Street, Walters, Washington, we're gonna have to post them. Some streets we can, Buttonwood's gonna have to be posted, so we'll have to do one side at a time. And it's gonna be a pain in the neck, but we're just gonna get right down and hopefully we'll get around quicker now. I mean, they should be cleaner, and that's gonna be, I'm looking forward to seeing nice clean streets, no, weeds growing up in the curbs.
Yeah.
The storm drains filling up, and this is all important with all these stormwater regulations.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to divide the town into sections and put signs out and they know, like Tuesday between 10 and 1, street
We're
sweeping?
when we get started, we're gonna start on the little side, over Hickory, Mulberry and Union over there, because Bobby said he didn't get there the last time, so he wants to start there and get, started in there.
Good.
We removed 4 truckloads of debris from Newton's Landing ditch. The ditch keeps filling up because of all the debris that's cut. And when all this rain, it's been floating up, floats to the drain, and actually clogs the drain up. We've actually made 4 dump truck loads of just grass that's washed down into the pipe. I don't know what we can do. I saw they had a nice little fire there. Well, that would be an ideal thing to, have that controlled burn out there. That would be, I don't know.
That is the ditch. What is the ditch?
The basin, you're talking about the
Newton's
basin.
Landing, the basin, out at Newton's
It's
Landing.
not the basin that has the meadow.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
is?
That from the end cut, what happens, it lays, and then all this rain picks it up and takes it all down to the drain, and it stops the drain up, and we've been putting it to the side, so we finally had to get in there with 3 guys and load it all by hand, because there's no way you can, do it. But I mean, it's just letting you know there's an
Right.
ongoing problem with this.
I thought we only cut that once a year,
Yeah, and that's,
and that
Cutting
still
was-
builds up.
The cuttings
Okay.
from last fall.
yeah,
Just cut it once a year, right, in November or
Yep.
something?
and that's, they cut it tall, so there's nothing, I mean, when you're cutting brush, it's 3 foot high. What do you think you can do? You can't,
Right.
there's not much you can do with it.
Yeah,
You're getting underneath of it, and it just lays, the water comes, fills it up, and takes it all down to the drain. So, it's just, I just wanted to know there's a little problem there.
Wouldn't it be easier, John, if they cleaned it up when they cut it? Because
How are
if
they
you're
gonna
cutting,
do that? How are they gonna do that?
Because they leave it how high after they cut it? It's still a foot high or
a
so?
foot high or 6 inches?
No, yeah, it's probably about 6 inches,
6
whatever,
inches,
yeah.
I think it's 6 inches.
Yeah, it's a very difficult, like I say, when you get brush this high, 3 to 4 foot high, what can you do with it?
Well, if
You
you're
just cut
cutting
at
it
the
down
bottom, you
6
cut at
inches.
the bottom, you run it over and it cuts it long.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
I
It's not
just-
like cutting grass where it blows. It just mats down.
Yeah, I just think it would be easier to clean it up while it's being cut. I don't know.
Yeah, which they could, but now you're gonna do that.
I don't know, I mean, if I'm cutting grass or something and there's something left behind, I get in there and clean it up now rather than wait
Can we
till.
cut it twice a year, like once in the spring and once in the fall? Would that help?
We used to. But I think we had a problem with the farmer who was ever cutting it.
Well, when he did it, see, it depends he brought a big tractor in, so he was able to really cut it. And with the other guy that cuts it, they don't have a big machine like he does.
Oh,
You need a
charges-
hay rake.
Yeah. What's that?
Hay rake.
who does that now?
The people that do, Newton Landing.
Oh, Realty?
What is it?
Thought it was Riverton, wasn't it Riverton?
Oh, Riverton.
No.
I don't know.
He's a, forget who.
I thought it was Realty
Yeah, real estate.
Realty.
Yeah,
Realty
Realty.
does, because I contacted
They
them
do a
regarding
nice
the
job,
trees.
but it's, like I say, it's a big job. It's a really big job.
Yeah,
But when the farmer come in, he had a 12-foot.
yeah,
He makes, mincemeat of it.
just doesn't make sense.
Turn the leaves, and, while I was finishing the last row, DEP shows up.
What?
And I said, well, luckily you wasn't here 3 hours earlier. I said, well, you would have filled your pad up,
You said
But-
that to him?
I could not believe, it was last Monday. I could not believe it. And he didn't find anything, everything was okay, but, with everybody's compost site, with all this rain, you cannot have water in between your rows, and they just don't like that. And it's very hard to stop unless you got really good level ground. But, he did okay. Then the following Friday, I went to a seminar for DEP for the compost site. And all the nice new regulations that I have to do, I have to take take the temperature of the leaves now, once a week.
Oh, my
What?
God.
Why?
I have to get a 42-inch thermometer. And I have to stick it in, so if somebody sees me up there, I'm not
Oh, my
going
God.
crazy yet. But this is what I gotta do.
Are you gonna be
I
a
gotta
doctor
take-
now, or what?
And, these seminars they go to, they tell you, well, you can't put no millings. And we went to a site in Hamilton. Well, the site must have been, the site was as big as from Kaiser Gypsum all the way into Beverly. I mean, it was probably 15, 20, maybe even 20 acres. That's how big it was.
Wow.
And it's a big facility. And every inch of that property, there's nothing but millings. But they tell you, you can't put millings in there because, they don't like the oil runoff and all. But there's this whole site that's filled, just filled with millings. So,
Do what we say, not what we do.
yes. But, it was, you know, it was I don't understand why DEP doesn't put this on instead of Rutgers puts it on. So, what are you gonna do? We had a tree come down, down behind, Janice's house there that, had Top Notch cleaned up for us, that storm last week.
On Beaver,
Yeah.
back on Beaver Avenue?
Yep. And 719, we've been having problems with the storm drain, and I got a price from Route 24, and it was like $4,000 just to stick the TV camera down in and clean it all out.
Oh, on Delaware.
Unfortunately, we know somebody whose husband happens to work for another township that conveniently brought over their camera.
Shared services.
And their,
It's a
yes,
shared service.
shared service.
Yeah.
And he was pretty nice, and, we do have a problem. In the middle, we've hit something very hard, both directions. So I don't know, he's gonna, come back this week and stick TV line back down in it and see exactly what the problem is. But there is a problem, there is a blockage of some sort, and we can't figure it out yet until we can really see it with the camera. And that's all.
All right.
John, if you have another line on that sign for the street sweeper, maybe put to comply with New Jersey stormwater regulations, or
Yeah.
some flowery thing, because that's really the driver of the whole thing.
John, I did have a request from a resident on Teeman Circle, if we could get the sweeper out there to clean the garbage juice up that the trucks,
It doesn't clean garbage juice up.
they said it was from last Thursday when it was raining and it happened.
Trust me, I had it in front of my house, and I had it on Bellevue. I don't know what it is. We'll have to take a little bit better look at what's happening with this truck. Is it Bellevue Lane got hit again?
Yeah,
It's
Um,
disgusting.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. It looks like, to me, it looks like hydraulic oil.
Well, it straight up
because-
smells like trash.
It's not oil. I mean,
Well,
I had a complaint from a
I see,
resident.
Kate, I've seen a lot of garbage juice, a lot of garbage juice in my time,
I guess you have,
and it doesn't shine.
but it's.
Oil gives a sheen off.
Oh.
And,
We're talking about two
and
different
when you should have seen the sheen that was in front of my house. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it had to
Yeah.
be
We
6
could be
foot
talking
wide by
about
10
two
foot
different
long.
things.
I'll
like
show you the
Carolyn
photo
said.
afterward that the resident had sent me. There's
Yeah.
A lot of juice or whatever you want to call it, so I'll show you afterward.
I think what we got to do, see, by law, they're not supposed to, there's a plug in the bottom of that.
Uh-huh.
Some people let the plug out. You know, it's not supposed to come out like that. I mean, pour out. But it looks like every place that they stop, it drains out. So that's why it's either a hydraulic leak or something. But we're gonna have to really, because it's getting bad. It's getting bad.
Right.
We're trying to clean the streets, and here they're contaminated.
Can we send an email and complain about that officially?
Just let
Put it on
everyone know.
record, let them know?
To the,
Yes.
yeah, to
the
the
owners?
company.
And I also would like to also, which really infuriates me, they put the can upside down. It wouldn't be a problem
Getting all the trash.
if they made sure all the stuff was out.
Right.
And I mean, Mike, I'm guilty of that, but, I mean, everywhere you go, we get the town cleaned, next thing you know, recycling day and then trash day, and the streets look all filthy again. I don't know.
I noticed on my street that they are leaving the trash can upright. They are doing that. Because I know you had asked them about that. I know on my street, they've been leaving them upright.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure we have to send a letter to them and tell them that this is some of the problems we've been having, and we want to know hopefully
What are you gonna
something
do to
can
fix
get
it?
done.
Yeah.
I see our trash coordinator taking notes, so I'm sure she'll be handling that for us.
That's all I have.
Thank you in advance.
Thank you,
Janice.
John.
Thanks, John.
All right. Mrs. Lohr, anything from the clerk's department?
Not specifically from the clerk's department, but I just want to confirm, John, this is April 1st, and for 2 weeks, your spring leaf cleanup?
April Fool.
So,
Yep.
okay, so this is our spring cleanup, the first 2 weeks in April, so residents are reminded that if they have any leaves that they've been storing over the winter, get them out so Public Works can get them. And
Are
then
you,
that-
yeah, are you still picking up brush? Because I see a lot of brush out too.
It's late.
Pardon? What?
It was late. Late brush.
Yeah.
They're different. If the brush was out, it was picked up. But if it's not, it was late.
So you did a pass through the whole
We went
town
through it
already?
down. Yep.
You're gonna do it again?
Because you got my block a week early, so.
We go out a couple of days ahead of when there's a lot of, stuff out, try to get it, because it takes about 6 days sometimes to get through the whole town, and even sometimes longer. So if we go out like the week before, people put out, and we try to help ourselves out.
So the end of the month again for brush, though.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
And then I see that Beth has some flyers, and I'll turn it over to her to be able to go over some events that are coming up this month and anything else she has.
Thank you, Janice. Saturday, April 27th will be the townwide yard sale, and the deadline to have your home put on the map is April 19th. Hopefully, we won't have any rain. All the rain will be gone before that. We have Community Cleanup Day and our free shredding event, both on Saturday, May 4th. The shredding event will take place here at the municipal parking lot, and the Community Cleanup Day over at the Public Works Garage. And they will have dumpsters for all sorts of things, electronics, tires, large plastic items, large yard items. There is a limit of 2 TVs or electronics per resident, and we have ID to bring them. But it's a great way, so if they can have yards out to get rid of it there.
We'll be doing the hoagie sale at the firehouse that day as well.
The yard sale, right?
Yeah, the yard sale, yeah, the week
Not-
before. No, you're not gonna throw them out. You're gonna come to the yard sale day. and you can-
No hoagie sale during brush?
No hoagie sale during brush pickup, but I'm sure John could pick some up and we could give them away to the guys. All right. Thank you. All right, we're gonna go to the consent agenda items.
Mayor, you
Yeah,
you missed me.
Oh, I missed Richard?
I got a list this big. If you guys want to leave, go ahead. I got a long list here.
April Fools. Go ahead, Richard, your turn.
It's not my turn to get things done here. Thank you. It's not in correspondence, but I'd sent you this letter that we received from Reverend Hodgins of the Fountain of Life Center, who sent thank you checks for both our fire department and our police department for the work they did in saving their building. And so we passed on the fire department one to them, and the one for the police department, the lieutenant and the chief and I will talk about where that's going to get spent. We'll do that against their OE. I want to report that, as we mentioned before, the governor finally signed the new affordable housing bill package that's been back and forth and you guys have talked about. So you'll have to decide how you want to organize to deal with when the state tells us how we got to deal with complying. So that's something that you'll have that discussion about. You're all aware question came up about the brick around trees on Burlington Avenue. The Dobbins Church is the first example where the question is who's responsible for that brick when the tree roots lift them up. And back when we adopted the sidewalk ordinance, the question was kind of passed as to whether that should be the township because the township with a grant put that in, or whether the property owner is responsible for doing that. We got a price, John got a price from the paver that did the work for the Shade Tree Commission to fix that. But the question becomes a policy question as to whether or not you want to deal with it on a case-by-case basis, or in general, if there is an issue dealing with tree roots and sidewalk bricks, whether that should be the township, whether it should be the Shade Tree Commission, or whether it should be the property owner. So I don't know what kind of direction or how you want to talk about it tonight or talk about it later or something like that, but we need some direction at some point.
Well, that sidewalk's been like that for a few years now. I think it's time to get it done. It's for $400, might as well just do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna drag it out anymore. It's a
You know, the
safety
church
hazard.
is a nonprofit. It's not like they have a lot of funds to just go out and fix a sidewalk that the township.
If it was not a church, would you feel the same way?
I don't know, but I remember when the grants came through and we did those sidewalks, and I think there were some concerns, from the property owners as to who would maintain them. And it is a problem because some grass is growing through, some, they're not being maintained, obviously. I
You wanna
hate to
think-
commit the township, but I think in this particular case, township tree is causing it, we can't do it, and it's a pretty big tree. And it's a church, I mean, people go to church there all the time. I think it's gonna be a liability to us as well. I say fix it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we put the bricks in.
Yep.
David.
I think we need to
think
come
on-
up with a policy.
Yeah, on the, the long term, we need to come up with a policy, whether, we have a policy for when tree roots affect a concrete sidewalk, we should certainly have one for the brick ones. What that policy is, we need to
Well, the
discuss.
policy is that you replace in kind. Question is, do you have the property owner be responsible for it, or the township responsible
Right.
for it? Is it different because it's the bricks that were put in under that grant by the township? Or is it different because of some other reason? So, not knowing how to I'm not necessarily, it'd be great if everyone says, yeah, go do something and we'll just do it. But you have a policy issue you might want to discuss.
We're discussing it.
Is this the bricks
On
on
Burlington
Burlington
Avenue.
Avenue?
Correct,
We
bricks
have-
on Burlington
And
Avenue.
not on Union?
No,
Yeah,
Burlington Avenue.
Burlington Avenue.
By the
There are
first
none
tree
on
there.
Union.
I think there are a couple issues here also, because you have, in your code, your adopted code, you have specifically about sidewalks, that the contiguous property owner is responsible for the maintenance of the sidewalk in the right-of-way. It doesn't differentiate between whether it's a concrete sidewalk or a brick sidewalk, so that's the first thing. And the code does say that you have to replace, the property owner has to replace in kind. So you do have that codified as to what our policy is currently for sidewalk replacement. Now, the question also becomes, now, is the church property where this brick sidewalk is contiguous, is considered commercial? Because that automatically goes to the property owner if the church is considered commercial. But there is already on the books where you have taken advantage, or I should say, this New Jersey statute provides that the maintenance and repair of sidewalks can be put on the contiguous property owner, residential property owner. And that's what you did in our code, as you said, under this statute, we're putting that on the contiguous property owner. Again, we don't differentiate between brick or whether a concrete. So if you do want to, change that policy, which you state in your code, that's something like Richard's right, you'd have to have that discussion and then amend your code.
So property owners have to put their own sidewalks in front of their property?
No, not necessarily, not put them in. The township all the time put sidewalks in.
In front of private property?
In the right-of-way, where there is a right-of-way. Developers put them in, townships can do them under projects, but as far as their maintenance and repair, we have, the township has through our code adopted ordinance that says property owner, because state law, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, state law allows us to shift that maintenance requirement to the contiguous property owner. You have done that, but you currently do not differentiate between brick and concrete. And I'll let Steve correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's all an accurate statement of what the state of the law is, and then also specifically in Delanco, because I know from working on other matters that you do have that provision in your code. I don't know enough about this property. I know Richard mentioned that there may have been some township money that through a grant that put in the bricks, and it might be a shade tree involved here. So, I mean, there could be a reason to deviate from that policy and possibly even deviate specifically for this property, where you don't necessarily have to revise the ordinance, But I think I want to look at that issue a little closer as to this specific property, and, you know, perhaps come back and give some direction, you know, so, because again, I don't know anything about this, the history
Yeah,
of this.
and the other thing that the township has adopted is that cost share program and it's in our code also, up to $100 per panel can be reimbursed to the property owner by the township when it's determined that a township tree has caused that heave, fall, whatever, you know, whatever the problem is. And, you know, we've had residents take advantage of that. Again, if the township wants to deviate, like Steve said, from what our code says, you have every right to do that on a case-by-case basis.
So this was a grant that they got to do brick pavers along all of Burlington Avenue and the portion of the town, so it wasn't just.
I wasn't
one
here, but
property.
that's what I'm told.
Yeah,
Kate knows.
it was back in, 2002 or 3 or 4, I'm not sure exactly when. But yes, we did 2 different phases. Phase 1 was across the bridge, Gateway Park, up through, probably Lou's Deli, and then it may have even gone to the Bend, and then the other phase was, up past the school. The school turned down, they did not want any bricks. Joe Miller was the superintendent at the time, the school didn't want brick sidewalk, they put in their own sidewalks. So we went all the way up to, I believe, Burlington Avenue and Cooper Street on the one side. And so it is a shade tree, it is a church, which is a nonprofit, and the tree is is making the bricks come up. It is a trip hazard, and I think it's a different situation. It's not a block of cement that, you know, the concrete pad that you can get reimbursed for. This is just a few bricks that needs to be replaced. The cost was like $400, John, from Paradise. Yes. Was it Paradise? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to ramp it or grind any roots up to?
Nope.
Just have
Well,
to?
they might have to do a couple.
They're gonna have to do something. 'Cause
Couple of roots.
Yeah.
I would, one thing I would add, just from a liability standpoint, it certainly, if there is a trip hazard there, the township could be liable for
Yes.
any trip hazard. So, you know, particularly because it's not a commercial property, even though you have the ordinance that says it's the adjacent property owner's responsibility to maintain, because it's not commercial, you're still actually liable for any, potentially liable for any hazard that would happen. So there could be some basis there to get the repair started, and then again, you could, I think under your ordinance, you have the ability to lien the property owner if you wanted to. I don't know whether that makes sense here or not, but that is an avenue as well, but it might make sense to get the repair started sooner rather than later, because there is that known hazard out there.
Right. And because it's brick, that the township did this grant on, it's not a sidewalk. So how do you differentiate a brick pad from maybe 50 bricks? I don't even know if it's 50 bricks, John. Is it about 50 at the most?
For what?
For the repair at the church corner?
No,
It's not even
just a
50
couple-
bricks.
It's a couple bricks.
Yeah,
Might be a dozen or so.
yeah. So I just say fix it.
I think you're.
Excuse me, John. When they, the base underneath the bricks, did they put concrete base?
No, it's sand.
I think it's,
It's just sand?
a poly,
Yeah.
stuff that they put underneath the sand.
Yeah.
that they
Yeah, you
do.
don't put concrete.
Yeah, I've seen that there so often, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a public
Sand.
sidewalk, I
No.
wasn't sure whether the base was some type of concrete or something solid, and then they laid the bricks on top of that.
No,
Yeah,
because
I've
the
seen the
roots
sand
wouldn't
when
have been
I
able
walk through
to,
there.
if so, I don't know that the roots would have lifted up just a couple bricks.
I think the main significant difference is, and as Kate led to, you know, we're not talking about a huge slab that we need to replace. We're talking about just
Raising the bricks
replacing.
and resetting.
Yeah, grinding the root if something's needed, or just putting them back in and resetting the bricks. You're not talking about a ton of money like where you would be, where you're replacing a whole concrete pad.
Right,
So,
$400.
But I think in the matter of public safety, we just need to just get it done.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion to do that?
Yes,
I think you just did.
and I will second it.
You need a roll call on that?
You can do it all in favor.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
you'll get it done, John.
That's what I was looking for. The next thing I have is the assessor. As I reported to you, we have our assessor is retiring as of May 1st, and we've been spending the last couple of months doing recruiting, and we put together names and we reviewed it with everybody, and the recommendation is that you appoint Sean Gaskell as the municipal tax assessor to replace Joe Raymond effective on May 1st for this year for a 4-year term. To finish his 4-year term. And we've discussed to that as Janice has a base resolution that we can do. And if everyone's in favor of that, we didn't know until earlier today that this was going to be how we're going to go. And if so, we can do a resolution to appoint Sean Gaskell, who's currently the assessor in Galloway and will shortly become the assessor in Medford, which is replacing Joe there. So we have continuity in that case, and we'll deal with the deputy assessor when that position is available. So if everyone's in favor, Janice, you could do the resolution and read it.
Okay. Well, actually, the number of that resolution then would be 2024-69. You just want to add it to the consent agenda? If everybody's okay with that? Would that be okay, Steve?
That works.
Yep.
Yep.
To add that to the consent?
All right.
So we'll add to the consent agenda, since you haven't done that yet, the consent agenda
Right.
yet, 2024-69, appointing tax assessor to fill unexpired term to, and I misplaced my,
It's effective May 1st for the unexpired 4-year term through June 30th, 27, Sean Gaskell.
6/30/2027, unexpired term, effective May 1st, you said?
Correct.
Okay, 2024 to 6/30/2027, Sean Gaskell, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay, you're gonna add that? Very good.
okay. So that is added to the consent agenda
Okay.
as resolution 2024-69.
Okay. The other thing I just want to mention that's going to be on the consent agenda, 2 things. One is that you've got the appointment of a new police officer. Lieutenant is working diligently to get all the paperwork for his transfer. So we thought we'd make the appointment we mentioned to you before at this meeting so that when everything's finally done, we can get that officer started rather than wait till the 15th and find he might be available sooner. The other thing that's on there that you saw in Harry's written report is he updated the stormwater mapping proposal. So there's the maximum is 25,000, that's what the state grant money is, but there is a unit price and a cost, so maybe it'll be less, maybe, but even if it's more, it's going to be 25. So that was what we were holding that up for. So that's on your agenda. And the last thing that I wanted to bring up here that we were hoping to avoid having this discussion, I think, was the application to the state for special funds. Senator Singleton's office has asked all the municipalities in District 7 to submit any ideas for any funds that he could earmark. And I gave you, based on the input I got from you, I gave you a list and made some suggestions. And different people had various suggestions as to what we're going to submit. Some of it had to deal with whether we include school projects or not school projects. So the things that we had talked about, one of the suggestions was made that we should include the construction of the additional pedestrian ramps that we might not get funded through CDBG. There's the question of funding. The rest of the items are generally in your capital budget for not necessarily this year, but a future year. The development of the waterfront park that we were talking about earlier behind the new seawall. The Hickory Street storm sewer replacement that Harry has indicated is going to need to be done next year. The DPW pole barn for the shelter work, we've talked about that for a number of years, but there's so many things we need to do in advance, haven't gotten to it. So the things that are in the budget, which are to do the fuel system and to do the overflow system and so on, need to be done now with the funding you have. But the next step would be the pole barn. There was a suggestion that we use perhaps some of this money to pursue what we've talked before about 41 Creek Road. There was a property near 200 Ash that might be available if somebody wanted to instead ask for money for that because there was no money before. And then there was discussion of things dealing with the library. So the Senator Singles office, I got to get that out to them in the next 2 days. They're asking for 2 or 3 projects of a maximum of 350,000, 1 to 3 they call. So I'm not sure what we're going to end up getting, whether you want to do priorities, whether you just say, here's the list, and you pick it out, which is what we're talking about. So I need some direction, see if we can get some consensus here so that I can get this thing out and make sure that at least we're in line to get money if it's going to be made available to us.
We had also asked the school if they had some
Right.
projects, and this was in my mailbox. Did you get this directly?
Yeah, and I spoke to them. They don't have any numbers. You have to have a number. You have to have a dollar amount. Some of them, then they were supposed to get that back to us.
And I guess you put this in my mailbox?
Yeah,
Somebody did,
everybody, yeah.
Carolyn said she didn't get it.
Oh, I thought I put it in everybody's mailbox. I apologize.
So we can't submit any of these because they don't have any cost.
They need a cost estimate. If you said to me that whatever their numbers are, if there are 3 of them that are around 350,000, that you'd put as a higher priority than any of the other things, call them tomorrow and say, hey, you got, 8 hours to get me the dollar amount and the backups to it, I can try to do that if that's what you want to do. As opposed to saying, listen, we've already got 5 or 6 our own projects that would certainly use up any kind of funds, because if we get 1 approved, that'd be lucky.
I know.
And you didn't get any reply back from them?
Not yet, they
I'd
promised to
stick
try to
with the
get
pole
back.
barn at Hickory Street.
Excuse me?
And I'd stick with the pole barn funding, Hickory Street, the stormwater, and, yeah, we already talked about the fuel system. And I think avoid the confusion, keep it simple.
Okay, anybody else?
Sure.
I would look at the, again, the Zerbrick with the waterfront park. We're looking for gazebos and to help put dollars to finishing up.
Yeah, this is
that
not
project.
100% of the cost, but it's whatever they'll give us,
Right.
yeah.
And I agree with the pole barn and Hickory Street, that, the sewer line there, or to drain the streets, stormwater management, in dealing with that issue, which we've dealt with for many, many years, or the residents over there have had to deal with, the flooding over in that area to be able to address those areas. Again, I was hoping that we'd have funding or be able to put a project in for the schools, but, other than coming up with some money for the roof to help protect the building, we know that's almost $2 million that they're looking for, and that 350 would help in that project.
Karen?
I would like to finish all the handicap ramps in town, Waterfront Park and Pole Barn. But knowing historically from last year, kind of all the projects they picked were like mostly senior centers or fields. They did a lot of like rebuilding of concession stands in Beverly. So I don't know how much like actual infrastructure projects they're looking to fund, but
Since they said this was only 350,000, they're not gonna do like they did 5 million to Willingboro last year.
Right.
For a senior center, but I would think that, the Hickory Street should be number 1, because that's a real community issue with the flooding. The pole barn, we still have to do all these other projects before that. We've been sitting on that for so long. I would put that number 3. And, I would love to get the funding for the waterfront park since we're gonna get the seawall. So they're the 3 that I would pick in that order.
And so the Hickory Street, pole barn, and then Waterfront Park?
No, the Hickory
Yes.
Street, waterfront park, and then the pole barn,
Okay.
because we have to do certain things before we can put that pole barn up. We haven't done them yet.
All right, hopefully we'll get them done this year, but this is money that wouldn't be available to use for a year, right? If it,
I'd like to.
I'd probably say handicap ramps, because we've been trying to get them done for years, and from what we've heard out of CBDG,
Oh, yeah.
We don't know if the funding's gonna be available for them.
Yeah, so
Or
that,
minuscule. I'd love to see the waterfront park done as well, of course. But I agree, the pole barn, we've talked about that for years, but we have to get all the other items done. But yeah, I would say handicap ramps and the waterfront park in that order.
Harry, how many, do we not have, how many non-conforming ramps do we have right now? It's over 100, right?
Yes, it's, I guess maybe about 125, I believe,
And there's 30-something that are still left to have a ramp at all.
that either, yes, that don't have a ramp, or the ramp is
so how much?
extremely out of code.
So you're talking 150, probably like 3,000 apiece.
For that number, if you did them in one contract, yes. If you did them in smaller contracts,
Like
it would be like 5.
Okay.
I think doing something with barrier-free, that's important for our residents.
And that would be a good bid.
Yeah, I think that's a good project to
But until we can get,
Yeah.
these
so-
handicap ramps just seem to generate more problems as we do them. I mean, the new ramps that went in on Union, they're puddles now. And cold weather, that's an ice skating rink. And in good weather, it's a trap for all kinds of debris and no one's gonna walk in it anyhow. And it just seems, it's a good idea, it's worthy, it feels good, but at implementation, it just doesn't come out right. And it sucks a lot of money out of our, other things that we do. And you walk around and look at them and they're troublesome. There's usually a pile of decaying crap in that low spot right in front of the target area, the red area of the ramp. And you end up walking up over the grass or, walking down the street and then hopping onto the regular sidewalk. And so I wouldn't even put the handicap ramp on the list.
I think our wheelchair residents would argue with you because we have ramps that have, 2 and 3 inch lips that they can't get their wheelchairs up above.
I'm just saying what's reality, that's all. I'm just
Right,
highlighting
and-
what reality is.
I understand the reality, so maybe, and part of that is due to the grading of the road.
Yeah.
And when they put the handicap ramp in, because there was one on Orchard that was really a problem, but when we redid Orchard, it helped correct that problem.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of the ramps there's dirt. The dirt just kind of accumulates. The one at the end of Rancocas Avenue there's just all dirt there. You can hardly see the orange.
Well, maybe as we do future road projects, that the handicap ramps be included at that time, and so all of the grades can be aligned at that time, rather than piecemeal hopping around and doing ramps where you're trying to now meet a grade that you can't meet.
Do the contractors, are they qualified to do the ramps, Harry, when they do the roads as well?
Yes.
Is it
yeah.
a different type of
No,
contract?
it's any concrete crew except for the one we just had.
Yeah.
Should be able to do.
We won't mention his name.
Yeah. And as Mike mentioned, whenever we do a road project or any improvements that are adjacent to a ramp, by law, we have to put the ramp in.
Right.
So when we do our roads, we have to put in the ramps, even if it's an overlay. Now when public service and the water company do their overlays, they don't have to do it.
Oh.
But when we do any work around those ramps, we have to replace those, bring them up to code, up to standards.
So some of them will come into play as we continue our
Yeah,
road
whenever we do a
program.
road job, that's when they get done.
So just to summarize, Mike, you don't think handicap ramps are worth doing at all in the future unless we're doing a road project?
Correct.
Okay.
I disagree with that, but I still think that I think the Hickory Street drainage is definitely an important project because of the flooding. It just doesn't, it floods the residents there and it also floods the fields, besides the fact that those fields need to be built up. And I also feel that, it would be nice once we get the seawall in, but I agree with the handicap ramps. I mean, I would change the pole barn because I would like to see that everything else is done at that public works facility before we
Yeah, because
apply.
we have only like 2 years to spend that money
Well,
at that point, and we're not ready for
We
it.
have the pole barn in our capital account.
Right.
Don't we have that in there?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
also have these other things. We have money for,
We have the
we
Hickory
did
Street.
Hickory Street, but, I mean, we allocated money for down payment money. Once we get the final estimates and so on, then we finalize that stuff. As I said, these are things that are in our capital program. If you get the grant, then you're able to do it sooner perhaps.
Right.
And certainly have less cost for the future, borrow less, so that if it isn't part of your capital program, it's probably not a good thing to apply for anyhow. It means you're speculating. You shouldn't
Right,
probably
yeah.
ask for a grant for something that you haven't really
We haven't thought about
thought
it.
it through. So we don't have, these aren't perfect numbers. Remember, they're just giving us 300, 350, or 250. It's just towards it. It's not everything.
Yeah.
So it's a question of where, if somebody a year from now would hand you 250, 300,000, where would you want to have it go first?
So what's our list?
The same thing, you all talked about the Hickory Street drainage, Zerber Park, the pole barn, and the handicap ramps, those
Stop
are the
there.
internally things. And, do we not talk at all about school stuff? I just want to make sure. But do you want to put, the Hickory, the waterfront park, and the
Pole barn.
ramps for the pole barn?
Yes.
I could do,
All four of them or what?
I would say put it all on the list.
Put all four?
Put it all on the, put everything on the
Yeah,
list.
put them on the
and
list. We
make it-
gave them like 5 or 6.
So, well, should I just do the 4 though?
The 4 is
Yeah.
fine.
Hickory Street drainage, CDBG, the handicap ramps, pole barn, and the waterfront park.
I
How
would
if we
put it
do
on there.
those, 300,000 each?
Yeah.
And, get it out there and be done. Does that make sense?
And
And
in
it's just-
the
and I-
event that the
yeah.
school gives you something, add that
I'll
as
pass it
number
on
5.
next.
No,
And I would
no.
just say, put it on there and, that
No.
we're submitting this in no particular order. And
Right.
let the senator.
Right.
No numbers.
And it's on the record that we're talking about this again, so that we don't come back and have somebody call us a liar for not discussing it.
Yeah, because we never talked about it before.
We did talk about it. But anyway,
Moving on.
yeah, and if, hopefully, I don't know, if the school could give us something. I did explain that to Arlene.
Well, the school can cut their own budget and develop their own proposals for
I
referendums.
asked them to put something together.
I know, but I think this was a offer or solicitation from Senator Singleton's office to the municipality, and keep it simple.
I think it's nice that the township committee works with the school on some of their issues, and I think it shows that we can again be a cohesive group between the two as we were at one time, and I think they need to know that we're working with them, not against them, and that's why, we reached out to the school regarding this particular item, so.
Didn't you have some thoughts about the school too, Fern? I know you wrote back.
I do, even if the senator were not to pick the school project or any of the, put money towards the school, that it's sending a message that we find and we know that our schools are important.
Exactly.
And, we need those funds for the roof and for other improvements that the school buildings need that.
Yeah, I have a
And just
list.
sending that message, not that he would pick it,
Right.
but that it would be there. Again, he's dealing with the state budgets, and we've asked for help. We've had the cuts, or the schools have had major cuts in their budgets, and, we've communicated with him. But again, this is just another subliminal, I guess, message that we here in Delanco
Value our schools.
value our
Yeah.
schools. Yep.
And so I would include that, Richard, if we can put
Well,
something.
that
We could
list,
get
like
pricing
Carolyn,
from her.
that was in the memo. That list was there on the memo that I sent you, which is basically this typed on
I
here.
just didn't get a printout of it, that's all.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It's
fine.
the same
Yeah.
thing, nothing different.
Oh, so you, okay.
Yeah, so she saw the list, we just,
Yeah,
so are we saying that if I get those numbers, I should send it, the memo, the way I wrote it? And include them, or not?
yeah, I would include it, because I think it's important that they, that the senator knows that we're also supporting our schools, they need help. It's not just the township that needs help, the township committee, it's the school. I'm sorry, I just think that it's important that we work together, and if there's some way that we can help them, it's another avenue. They may not consider it because it's the school, and maybe they're gonna work something else out with the school, I don't know. I know they were having a meeting with the senator, on Friday, I don't know how that worked out. I don't think it hurts, I'm telling you, it can only help our,
Is the language that I put in that memo what you're looking for? About the school stuff, there's great concern, that's why I sent you the memo, to see whether that
Yeah.
says what you're thinking.
I
I
think
don't know
it's
if that's
fine.
what you're thinking.
Even if they don't choose it, it's at least sending a message
I
that we
think,
support.
yeah, I think it's fine,
our
Richard.
district.
I think you
Okay.
did a nice job.
Right, so if I get it, but I have to send this in tomorrow afternoon, so, if, I'll check with her again tomorrow, and if she's got some numbers to put here, there's also gotta be a paragraph describing it, I mean,
I
it's
know.
not something that you can do overnight. So I can do the paragraphs describing our four items.
By the way, I don't think the Board of Ed knows anything about that.
I explained it.
Yeah.
I did explain it to Arlene, and I tried to explain it at the Board of
spoke
Ed
to her.
meeting, and Eric said, you know, we know about it or something, or we're meeting, and I tried to explain to him that it wasn't the same thing, that it wasn't what he was talking about, but I don't know that it registered, but Arlene knew.
Okay, so we just need nothing.
Yes,
Numbers,
and I
yeah.
have the list here, Mike, if you wanna, you want this copy of the list?
Do you have a copy of this?
Shoot Arlene anything else.
This is probably faster. Here you go.
Here.
Yeah.
Wait 3 days for a reply.
And then, yeah, that's the
I spoke to her
problem.
last week, when I got
Yeah,
this.
so you can, yeah, that's the list she sent, but we need
She
pricing.
said she was sending it on to, someone else in your organization to get that information.
The faster you get that mic, the better. All right. Thank you, sir. All right.
All right, I'll try to finish this up and I'll get out my final version, so you don't shoot the messenger.
All right.
Okay, that's all I got, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for missing you.
Yeah,
All right.
that was
We-
important.
We
I'm
will go
ducking.
to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Is there anything anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda, or has any questions on first?
No.
No.
Okay, good. Mike? Nope. All right.
Mayor, I have one comment on Resolution 62, the appointment of a police officer. Please note that that is contingent upon, that since that's an intergovernmental transfer, it's contingent upon civil service approval, and we have not heard back from civil service yet.
Okay. Very good.
You got resolution 69.
Yep, I have that.
Good.
All right. This must be a April Fool's joke, the length of this first one that I'm going to be reading here. But, hold on. We will go through it. Ordinance 2024-7, an ordinance amending and supplementing a bond ordinance of the Township of Delanco, originally adopted on December 20th, 2021, as amended on August 1st, 2022, entitled, quote, "A Bond Ordinance of the Township of Delanco in the County of Burlington, authorizing the construction of improvements and related work to install a new seawall and emergency services access along the Delaware River between Union Avenue and Willow Street, appropriating the sum of $820,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $779,000 in bonds or notes of the township for financing such appropriations and making such determinations and covenants, and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing." End quote. First reading by title only and set public hearing date for April 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Ordinance 2024-7, an ordinance authorizing the execution and filing of a deed of confirmation related to a prior municipal tax lien foreclosure at 15 Trout Trail. First reading by title only, set public hearing for April 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Resolution 2024-62, resolution of the Committee of the Township of Delanco, County of Burlington, New Jersey, authorizing the appointment of police officer. 2024-63, authorizing issuance of a bingo license. Resolution 2024-65, authorizing the issuance of a raffle license. Resolution 2024-65, authorizing the issuance of a raffle license. 2024-66, refund of construction permit overpayment. Resolution 2024-67, disposal of out-of-service office equipment. Resolution 2024-68, resolution authorizing professional services for stormwater infrastructure map and surveying services. Resolution 2024-69, Ms. Laura, please correct me if I am reading this title incorrectly, but resolution authorizing the appointment of tax assessor Sean Gaskill to fill an unexpired 4-year term effective May 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027.
Perfect.
Oh, thank God. And approval of, payment of bills, current fund, $1,323,995.49. Payroll, $130,572.56. Capital fund, $440. Escrow trust fund, $7,166.75. Approval of business licenses, 2024-17, 18, 19, 21, through and inclusive of 27. And approval of the consent agenda. Can we have a motion, please?
Second.
That was Ms. Seuss and Ms. Fitzpatrick. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss? Yes. Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes. Correspondence, please.
Just the one that was in a copy in your packet, we received notice from Burlington County. We'll be having a Safe Streets and Roads Regional Vision Zero planning webinar, and that is April 11th at 11 a.m. There is a link in that, as well as a meeting password for you to join in, and that is something that the Burlington County will be sponsoring that session. Okay. And that's all the correspondence that I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Meeting is now open to the public for comments and questions, session number 2. Again, as before, if you have any comments or questions, please come up, approach the podium, and give your name and address for the record. Meeting is now open to the public. Ray's not here, so it's a quiet night. All right, meeting is now closed to the public. Discussion items, parking on Rancocas Avenue issues.
This was brought to my attention from Bobby Crabtree and regarding Public Works equipment when they try to park on Rancocas Avenue to mow the grass or do any work at Gateway Park. And I think Bobby, he probably talked to you, John, and I think he talked to the lieutenant, and I think they've worked out a solution rather than having no parking every day, like 2 days a week, no parking.
He asked for every day.
Pardon?
He asked for every day.
Oh, we did ask for everything.
Yes.
I thought you came up with a solution, you told me.
Yeah, then he called me
Oh,
to respond out, and he requested Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, because he said that their issue would be, they have 7 days that they cut, and if by chance it's inclement weather, then they can't, it gets pushed back to the oncoming week, and they felt it'd be beneficial if it was no parking from 7 to 3.
7
Monday
to
through
3,
Friday.
Monday to Friday.
And the residents could park on on Burlington Avenue in front of Gateway if need be. So I said, we should speak to the superintendent about it and see what he thinks. And
What do you
talk to
think, John? Because
It's a good idea.
It is.
It's just, the parking of it is just unreal anymore.
well, there are residents that are parking there and leaving their cars there for more than a day.
As long as we had a time where we could just pull in And now, you know, if it rains, then that's why Bobby didn't want to dictate one
Right.
Friday or Thursday, you know? So just the one side on Ranco, is, you know, we could just make it long enough for, you know, the trailer and the truck, that's all.
Well, it's
And then
it's from the
anything beyond
corner
that, that's no
back to
problem.
the end of our property. That's, I
Well,
mean.
he asked, when I spoke with him on Thursday, he asked, could it be, probably about maybe 10 or 15 feet in from Burlington
Okay,
onto
right,
Rancocas.
which makes
Right?
sense.
And then, probably about 25 feet or so back.
Right.
Which would be plenty of space for them to.
To park
pull
their
up And
vehicle.
unload their lawnmower safely, and then cut, and then
So
Right.
35 foot back from the corner total?
roughly.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a big deal.
And we would have to do an ordinance to do that.
Right. It'd be similar to how Lou's is. It's only during the
Yeah,
daytime.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it was-
Yeah. So,
So it's no parking between these two signs.
Right.
Monday
Between 7
through
a.m.
through
Right.
Friday, 7 to 3.
Which still will leave, there's still parking available for those residents right there on Burlington Avenue. Or even possibly behind.
We're behind
Still
that
plenty of space
sign.
behind.
What
Yeah.
about in the winter time, when we're not mowing? Do we have like a time frame, like
That's why I said.
March to,
Yeah.
I would,
March to September or something, or?
I wouldn't do it because they still may, I wouldn't change, I mean, it would be,
That might get confusing
it's
from a
very
signage
confusing,
standpoint
yeah, for
as
the
well.
signage and just do it, because the residents have other areas to park. It seems, Bobby's pretty sure they live right across the street and they do have parking in that.
But he was wrong. It was only
Oh,
one.
he was
person.
wrong?
It was only one person.
Oh, okay.
And even in that regard, you know,
The way they park, even I can't even fit in there, so I either go in I even go in Rossi's or I park on Burlington Avenue, but it's very
Small
It's the
hard.
tiniest
She's
car
got
in
a
the
Fiat.
world.
Yeah, exactly. But it's easy, I hate parking on Burlington Avenue.
Bobby might be busy doing other things now. So,
It doesn't matter whether it's Bobby, whether it's Kenny, whoever it is that has to have that equipment there, there's not enough space for them. And for them to have to park on Burlington Avenue, it is a danger.
Yeah.
It's a hazard.
you
I
have
don't even like to
residents
park.
they're parking on the street that they live on. Because the notion was, oh, they're just leaving their cars there. Like, I told them, how do you know they don't work at night? They're sleeping. That's why it's parked there.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah.
Because it's gone to the point where we're running plates thinking that they're, you know, expired, and they're not. They're legally parked. So if Monday through Friday, 7 to 3 works best, just do that.
Alright.
You know, no.
Yeah,
seasonal-
that's fine, and we would have to do an ordinance for that.
Is it the, and just so I'm clear, so I understand, and we can prepare a draft. We're talking about 35 feet from Burlington Avenue on which side of Rancocas?
It's on the, I guess
The
you
Gateway Park
It's like the
side.
west side, yes.
West.
No, north.
Yeah.
north-
Yeah, well, I thought, Steve, I think we have a base, and then we run it by.
I know.
So,
You can't assume it's northeast.
yep, guys, we'll put it together. We'll use the same format we've used before, and then we'll run it by.
It makes no
Okay.
sense.
We're good. We'll have our engineer look into the direction.
Steve, that's the ball, we didn't measure it out.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do a base thing after you've measured out and so on, to get this to Janice, and we'll put together the format, and then run it by Doug and Steve, make sure we've done it right.
Yeah.
We've done this many times.
Lieutenant, the residents that are parking there, are they from those two houses there, or are we talking about they're from the apartments?
They're both. There's residents that live behind Walsey Realty. There's 2 houses right there on Rancocas. And I believe there was one female that lived across the street at 200.
Okay.
The residents
brown house in the
that,
corner.
they park behind Rossi's, the residents,
No,
two of them do.
One guy was parking on
Well,
Rancocas.
the vehicles have been there more than a day. Sometimes they're there 2 and 3 days. They're not.
But they're legally parked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I thought that you couldn't leave a vehicle parked in one area.
7 days.
Oh, it's 7 days?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I don't know, I just know what Bobby's saying, yeah.
Yeah, but Bobby was wrong.
Well, I didn't know, I mean, I'm just reporting, I'm trying to get some
I thought we
safe
agreed that it's
areas.
Monday through Friday, 7 to 3.
All right.
that'll work fine.
Okay.
So you have.
We'll put it together, give it a shot, see what happens.
Very good. Is there anything else anyone would like to discuss?
Yeah.
I hear a lot of other discussions.
Did we hear back from the contractor if they're gonna replace the plantings that Bill Manilevich, marked that were dead? Have we heard back anything?
He didn't mark them all as
He
dead,
marked some of them, yeah.
because all the arborvitae at the new Gateway Park, none of them are marked.
Right. And I think Vine Street, too.
Yeah, Vine Street.
There's
Yeah,
a
Vine
bunch of
Street.
arborvitae that are dead there, right?
Yeah, almost all of them.
Mike, did they talk about the shade tree?
Yeah, and Bill sent an email back, and he had contacted, the point of contact there, so.
Yeah, I know, I was waiting to see if they followed up, because that was early last week, and they want to have them done by the 15th, so that's what Steve Lennon recommended.
But they're not all marked, so who's responsible to mark them? Are we, or is Bill Matalevitz, or is the contractor?
The shade tree is.
Bill was marking them, and I'll confirm with him.
Because they're not all marked yet. All the dead trees are not marked.
Okay.
All right, so Mike, you'll follow up on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, anything else? All right. I don't think we need another executive session.
No.
So how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Kate and Vern, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Hey, John.
I sent an email to Dr. Fitz on the, I also told Eric to see if he could